Before I get into the analysis today, don't forget to click like, subscribe and comment. All of your engagement helps my YouTube channel grow. Hello everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your free daily update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. For Bitcoin, I'm looking at just technicals today, and I'll just look at the daily chart. I want to focus on what's happening today, some strong upward movement from Bitcoin, and so far it's just breaking above my upper edge of my channel that contains all of this downward movement. So from the last high we saw on the 13th of July, I've drawn a trend line from this high to these highs here on the 8th and 9th of August. I've pulled a parallel copy down. Well, it doesn't really, the lower edge doesn't really matter, maybe put it down here. And so it contains all of this downward movement. It's a fairly conservatively drawn channel. At the point of time of recording this video at 12:30 in the afternoon, price is now just above the upper edge of this channel. I want to see this trend line breached with a full daily candlestick above and not touching this trend line of upward movement in order for my very conservative definition of a channel breach to be met. If we see that, which may happen tomorrow, then I would have further confidence that this downward trend is over and the next trend upward is then underway. I expect pretty strong resistance for Bitcoin today, about 27,400, so I will expect a pause and maybe a little pullback around there before price breaks through and moves up and away to next resistance, which is very strong, just below 29,000. So with price hitting resistance at this red trend line and about 27,400, we may not see a breakthrough today. If price can close above 27,400, that would be considered a break of resistance. If that happens, I'd expect price to move up a little bit, possibly backtest support at 27,400 before moving up higher to just below 29,000. So let's see how this session closes. Is it going to close above this line? Is it going to close above 27,400? If that happens, that would be very bullish. So far, it's still finding resistance in this area, and resistance there is quite strong. So far, at 12:30 in the afternoon, we don't have further push from volume, but there's still a few hours of this session to go. Let's see how it closes. A further push from volume and increase beyond the prior session would be very bullish. Doesn't have to be bullish. These markets can be slow off their lows, and we are seeing an increase in range today, which is excellent to see. ADX is still setting itself up for a strong signal. No signal yet, but I am watching this one very closely for Bitcoin. Now, I can't give you my Elliott Wave count for Bitcoin. That's a subscription only on my website, but I will give you my Elliott Wave counts for Ethereum and XRP. For Ethereum, I'm stepping back. Let's look at the big picture again. It's time on days like this when they have strong movements to remind ourselves of the bigger picture. For Ethereum, the entire price history beginning back here in 2015, from this low to this high, I see a complete 5-wave impulse. 1, an impulse, 2, a double zigzag, 3, a good-looking impulse, 4, a triangle, and 5, complete cycle wave 1. This has really good proportion and good alternation between the triangle of 4 and the double zigzag of 2. Cycle 1 over 2 years, followed by cycle 2 just under a year, and a 94% reduction in market value, subdividing as a double zigzag. This is a bear market, a huge crash by any definition whatsoever. 94% reduction in value is huge. And so the proportions in terms of time and the depth of cycle 2 is normal for a cryptocurrency. From this low to this high, there's another beautiful looking 5-wave impulse. Intermediate 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You cannot label this impulse cycle wave 3 because this can't be cycle 4 because it overlaps what would be cycle wave 1 price territory. So you move the degree of labeling of this impulse down 1 degree, it's primary wave 1 and 2 within cycle wave 3. And so that leaves us with a very, very bullish wave count for Ethereum. It sees price is in the early stages of a third wave at primary degree within a third wave at cycle degree. And the slow start is absolutely normal behavior for a cryptocurrency. Look at this, slow start, acceleration through the middle, explosion at the end. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. The high of primary 1 here. This point here, here's primary 2, a deep double zigzag, and the start of primary 3, possible target for primary 3, 54,226 if it were to reach 11.09 times the length of primary wave 1. Primary 3 may only subdivide as an impulse, and I have intermediate 1 and 2 complete within it, and so intermediate 3 in its early stages with minor 1 and 2 complete within it. So now we have an even more bullish outlook for Ethereum. A third wave in the first 2 weeks, a third wave at minor degree, within intermediate, within primary, within cycle. This is a huge third wave expectation. This is very bullish. Draw a base channel around intermediate 1 and 2. Draw it from the start of 1 to the end of 2. Place a parallel copy on the end of 1. Lower degree second wave corrections may be expected to find support at the lower edge of this base channel. That's worked beautifully so far for minor wave 2. And now moving to the daily chart, this high here is this high here. So this is the end of B within minor 2, a zigzag, and here's the end of C. Here's the lower edge of that base channel, and it also has provided support for minuet wave 2. If minor 2 is over here, minor 3 has begun. It may only subdivide as an impulse, and I will label minute wave 1 incomplete, with minuet 1 over here, minuet 2 an expanded flat, and now minuet 3 in its early stages. Ethereum is now moving confidently above this channel, which I've drawn around minute wave C. I've drawn it from this high to these highs here, and I've pulled a parallel copy down on this low so it touches this low. This is not a breach by my conservative definition, but it's very good to see, and it is still bullish, that price is now moving confidently above this channel. My conservative definition of a breach is I want to see a full daily green candlestick above this trend line and not touching it in order to have confidence that this trend is over and the next trend is underway. Let's take a look at some technicals real quick. On the daily chart, real quick, some technicals for Ethereum. This is the same trend channel. Price is breaking confidently above that trend line, not meeting my very conservative definition yet. We'll need another day or two for that, or maybe a little bit more. I've added in a new resistance line because there's some pretty good resistance here, multiple tests about 1670. And that's exactly right now where Ethereum is finding some resistance. So the high for this session so far is 1667.64. After using some energy to break through resistance at this trend line, it may not have enough energy left this session to break through resistance at 1670. I like to think of price movement in terms of energy, like from a physics perspective. It makes sense to me. So after expending some energy on this upward session, let's see how price closes. Now, if it can close confidently above 1670, then let's expect price to continue higher to move up to next resistance about 1716. I'll also be expecting it's quite likely we could see a back test of support of this trend line before price moves up and away. So look out for that potential back test of support maybe for tomorrow. So far, this session for Ethereum has an increase in volume. That is really, really good to see for a bullish case. This session looks particularly bullish for Ethereum. The Elliott Wave count for XRP is essentially the same. It sees from the start to this high here in 2018, a 5-wave impulse, which I'm labelling cycle wave 1, which lasted 3 years. That was followed by a deep double zigzag that lasted 2 years and was a 96% reduction of market value, a huge market crash. Where 2 ends, 3 begins, cycle wave 3 may only subdivide as an impulse, and so far I'll label it primary 1 and 2 complete, and now primary 3 in its early stages. A target for primary 3 is for it to reach 4.236, the length of primary 1, and it may last 3 years, so it may reach that target in June 2025. Now, this is a bit of a stab in the dark. I'm not using this for my own investing purposes, and I bought a fair amount of XRP. I like this chart very much, but I'm not going to be exiting necessarily at that point. I'm going to be exiting when I see a complete Elliott Wave count, either for primary 3 or cycle 3, depending on when it ends and what I'm doing with my life at that point. With primary 2 within cycle 3 over here, then a third wave at 2 large degrees is expected to be beginning. This low down here is this low down here. Within primary 3, I now have intermediate wave 1, a leading expanding diagonal, followed by intermediate wave 2, which looks most likely to be over down here. So for XRP, also a very bullish wave count. I've drawn a channel around intermediate wave 2 for XRP. This channel is very confidently breached by upward movement above and not touching this trend line. It's been so for a couple of weeks now. I have some confidence points along the way up. A new high above 0.5467 would add some reasonable confidence that this low is likely to remain intact, and a new high above 0.6650 would add further confidence. On the daily chart, XRP is having a strong upward session. Doesn't have push from volume though. It's not as strong as Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm expecting next resistance for XRP at 55 cents. XRP doesn't have push from volume either. Ethereum does, but Bitcoin and XRP don't. For XRP, the ADX line today is essentially flat, so there's no clear trend. So I am overall still expecting upward movement for all of them, and for XRP I will look for next resistance about 55 cents. Before I go, a quick reminder, I've got a bunch of free stuff on my website. If you haven't already picked it up, do so. I'll leave a link in the description box below. I've got, what have I got? I've got an Elliott Wave structure guide, all of the Elliott Wave structures with the rules and guidelines. I've got a candlestick pattern guide, and I've got a technical analysis basics ebook, all free. Click on the link below and you'll be given a link to download your free resources. Thank you so much for watching, and I am feeling a lot better today, but my voice is still somewhat affected. Should be much better next week for longer analysis for you.